The text came at 10:47 a.m., just like clockwork. Feeling terrible today, honey. Think I'm coming down with something. Going to work from home. Don't wait up tonight. Probably going to crash early. Love you. I stared at my phone screen in the break room at Dataflow Solutions, where I work as an IT manager. My coffee had gone cold while I counted back the Thursdays. 6 times in 2 months. Always Thursday. Always the same excuse about feeling sick. Always the same promise to work from home. You look like someone just told you the server crashed again, Dave Martinez said, sliding into the chair across from me. Dave's been my best friend since college, and he knows that look on my face better than anyone. Just Stephanie being Stephanie, I said, showing him the text. Dave read it and raised an eyebrow. Sick again. Man, she's got worse luck with her health than a Victorian orphan. That made me laugh despite everything. Dave always knew how to cut through the tension with his ridiculous comparisons. But this time, something felt different. Maybe it was the way she'd been acting lately, distant, secretive, always on her phone. Or maybe it was the fact that she'd been sick every Thursday for the past 6 weeks. I'm not stupid. I run it for a mid-sized company, which means I solve problems for a living. And this felt like a problem that needed solving. You know what? I said, pulling up the Find My iPhone app. Let me just check if she made it home okay. Dave leaned over to look at my screen. We both watched as the little blue dot appeared, pulsing steadily. Not at our house on Maple Street. Not at her office downtown. The dot was sitting pretty at 1247 Riverside Drive. I knew that address. Mark Chadwell lived there. Stephanie's boss at Morrison & Associates PR firm. Married guy, drives a silver BMW, works out obsessively, and has the kind of smile that makes you want to check your wallet afterward. Well, Dave said quietly, that's not good. The funny thing about betrayal is how it hits you. You'd think it would be this crushing wave of emotion, but instead it felt like everything just clicked into place. All those late nights at the office, all those work dinners, all those times she'd come home smelling like expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. I sat there for maybe 30 seconds, just staring at that blue dot. Then I did something that surprised even me. I started laughing. Ethan? Dave looked concerned. You okay, man? I'm perfect, I said, and I meant it. For the first time in months, everything made sense. Dave, how do you feel about helping me send some flowers? The plan was simple, elegant even. I called Riverside Florist and ordered their most dramatic breakup bouquet, wilted roses, baby's breath, the works. The card read, thanks for the memories, but Thursday nights are over, your secret admirer who isn't secret anymore. I had it delivered to 1247 Riverside Drive, addressed to Mark Chadwell. Then I went back to work and waited. The beauty of being married to someone for 5 years is that you know all their tells. Stephanie called me at 2:15 p.m., which was exactly when I expected her to call. Ethan? Hi, honey. How's your day going? Her voice had that forced, casual tone she used when she was fishing for information. I could practically hear her heart racing through the phone. Oh, you know, same old stuff. Fixing computers, dealing with network issues. How are you feeling? Still sick? Yeah, still pretty rough. Actually, I was thinking maybe I should go see Dr. Patterson this afternoon, just to be safe. That's probably smart, I said, pulling up the Find My iPhone app again. The blue dot was still at Mark's house. You know what they say, better safe than sorry. There was a long pause. Right, exactly. So I might be out for a while this afternoon. Doctor's appointment and all. Take all the time you need, sweetheart. I hope you feel better soon. After I hung up, Dave appeared at my desk. So, how'd it go? She's going to see Dr. Patterson, I said. Funny thing is, Dr. Patterson's office is downtown, but she's still showing up at Mark's house. Dave shook his head. Man, she's really committed to this story, isn't she? That evening, I got home before Stephanie did. I made myself a sandwich, cracked open a beer, and settled in to wait. She walked through the door at 8:30, looking perfectly healthy but trying to appear tired and sick. Hey, honey, she said, giving me a weak smile. How was your day? Pretty good. How did the doctor's appointment go? She hesitated for just a fraction of a second. Oh, fine, just a minor bug. He said I should rest for a few days. That's good advice, I said. By the way, did you hear anything interesting at work today? Another hesitation. No, why? Just wondering. You know how office gossip spreads. Someone told me there was some drama at Morrison and Associates today. Something about flowers being delivered to the wrong person. I watched her face carefully. There it was, a tiny flicker of panic in her eyes before she composed herself. I wouldn't know, she said. I was homesick, remember? Right, of course. How could I forget? That night, as Stephanie pretended to sleep next to me, I lay awake planning my next move. The flowers were just the opening shot. If she wanted to play games, I was ready to show her how good I was at games. After all, I had something she didn't know about. I had access to all our shared accounts, all our synced devices, and 5 years of knowing exactly how her mind worked. This was going to be fun. Friday morning brought another text, but this one was different. Feeling much better today. Dr. Patterson's medicine really helped. Back to the office. Have a great day. I almost admired her commitment to the lie. Almost. At work, I did something I'd never done before in our marriage. I started digging. Not because I wanted to catch her cheating, but because I was curious how deep this thing went. Call it professional interest. When you work in IT, you develop a natural instinct for finding hidden files and deleted histories. Stephanie and I had shared everything when we got married. Shared bank accounts, shared streaming services, shared cloud storage, even shared location services on our phones. She'd probably forgotten about half of it by now. I started with the easy stuff. Our shared photo stream showed some interesting pictures from the past few weeks. Stephanie at various restaurants I'd never been to, always dressed up, always looking happy. In several photos, I could see the reflection of whoever was taking the picture in windows and mirrors behind her. Tall guy, broad shoulders, expensive watch. Finding anything good? Dave asked, appearing behind my desk with 2 cups of coffee. Oh, you could say that. Look at this. I showed him a photo from last Thursday, the first Thursday she'd claimed to be sick. Stephanie was at Romano's, the expensive Italian place downtown, wearing the black dress she'd claimed to have spilled wine on and thrown away. She told me she threw that dress away, I said. And she told you she was sick last Thursday. Exactly. But here she is, looking perfectly healthy, and having what appears to be a very nice dinner. Dave studied the photo. You can see the guy's reflection in the window behind her, Mark Chadwell, her boss, the guy who lives at 1247 Riverside Drive. I kept digging. Our shared Spotify account showed some interesting playlist activity. Someone had been creating playlists with titles like Thursday Night Vibes and Work Dinner Mood. The songs were all romantic ballads and smooth jazz, definitely not Stephanie's usual taste in music. But the real treasure trove was in our shared Google Drive. Stephanie had been backing up her text messages automatically for years, probably without realizing it. And since we shared the storage space, I had access to everything. The messages between Stephanie and her best friend Tasha were particularly enlightening. Girl, he has no idea, one message read. Ethan's so clueless, I could probably tell him I was on Mars, and he'd believe me. But don't you feel bad? Tasha had responded. Why should I feel bad? He's boring. All he does is sit around and fix computers. Mark actually makes me feel alive, you know. Plus, he's taking me to that new place on 5th Street next week. The conversation continued for pages, Stephanie complaining about how predictable I was, how I never surprised her anymore, how Mark made her feel like she was 25 again. Tasha occasionally pushing back, but mostly just enabling the whole thing. The most recent exchange was from yesterday, right after the flowers had been delivered. Something weird happened today, Stephanie had texted. Someone sent Mark a breakup bouquet at his house. His wife saw it. OMG, what did you do? We played it off like it was from some crazy ex or something. But it was so specific, Tasha. Like whoever sent it knew about us. Do you think Ethan knows? No way. He's too wrapped up in his computer stuff to notice anything. But it's still creepy. I leaned back in my chair and smiled. Creepy. That was one way to put it. You're looking awfully pleased with yourself, Dave observed. Just appreciating the beauty of good data organization, I said. Did you know that Stephanie thinks I'm too boring and predictable to ever figure out what she's up to? Ouch, that's harsh. It's also useful. If she thinks I'm predictable, then she won't see the next move coming. I spent my lunch break planning phase 2. The flowers had been a warning shot, something to make them nervous, but now I wanted to have some real fun. I started with Mark's social media. The guy was surprisingly easy to research. He posted constantly on Instagram, mostly gym selfies and photos of expensive meals. His LinkedIn showed he'd been promoted to senior partner at Morrison and Associates 6 months ago. His Facebook was locked down, but his Instagram was public, and it told a fascinating story. Looking back through his posts, I could trace the timeline of his relationship with Stephanie. It started about 3 months ago, right around the time she'd started working late and going to more client dinners. Mark's posts from that period showed him at various restaurants around town, always with the caption, "Great client meeting" or "Productive work dinner." But the really interesting part was the photos themselves. Mark was clearly trying to impress someone. The gym selfies had increased dramatically. The expensive watch had appeared. The fancy restaurant photos had multiplied. And then there were the comments. Stephanie had been liking and commenting on almost every post for the past 2 months. Nothing inappropriate, just friendly workplace banter. But the pattern was clear once you knew what to look for. I screenshotted everything. That evening, Stephanie came home in a good mood, chattering about her day at the office and how much better she was feeling. I made dinner and listened to her talk about various projects and clients, noting how often Mark's name came up in conversation. "Mark thinks we should pursue the Henderson account more aggressively," she said over pasta. "He's got some really innovative ideas about their marketing strategy." "Mark sounds like a smart guy," I said. "You two work well together." She smiled. "We do. He's really helped me grow professionally. I feel like I'm finally being challenged, you know?" "That's great, honey. Challenge is important." After dinner, while Stephanie was in the shower, I made my next move. I created a fake email account and sent a message to Karen Chadwell, Mark's wife. The subject line was simple: concerned neighbor. "Hi, Mrs. Chadwell," the email read. "I live on your street and noticed some unusual flower deliveries to your house yesterday. The delivery person mentioned they were breakup flowers, which seemed odd since I know you're married. I thought you should know in case someone is playing pranks or there's been some kind of mix-up. Just looking out for a neighbor. Hope everything is okay." I signed it, "A Friend," and sent it from a generic Gmail account. Then I sat back and waited for the chaos to begin. Saturday morning started quietly. Too quietly. Stephanie was unusually attentive, making me breakfast and asking about my plans for the weekend. She seemed nervous, like she was waiting for something to happen. Around noon, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Is this Ethan Royce? This is Karen Chadwell. I think we need to talk." I stepped out onto the back porch to call her back, leaving Stephanie inside watching some cooking show. "Mr. Royce?" Karen's voice was crisp, controlled, but I could hear the anger underneath. "I received an interesting email yesterday about some flowers delivered to my house. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're talking about." The flowers were addressed to my husband Mark. The card mentioned Thursday nights and secret admirers. I did some checking, and I found out that your wife works for Mark at Morrison and Associates. I let the silence stretch for a moment. "That's correct. Stephanie works there. Mr. Royce, I'm going to be direct. I think our spouses are having an affair, and I think you sent those flowers to flush them out." I had to admire her directness. "What makes you think that?" "Because if I were in your position, it's exactly what I would have done. The question is, what are we going to do about it?" This was an interesting development. I'd expected Karen to confront Mark, maybe cause some drama at home. I hadn't expected her to reach out to me directly. "What did you have in mind?" I asked. "I want proof, real proof. Mark has been acting strange for months, and I've been suspicious. But I need something concrete before I make any decisions. And you think I can help with that?" "I think we can help each other. You clearly already know something, or you wouldn't have sent those flowers. And I have access to Mark's schedule, his credit card statements, his email accounts." I found myself liking Karen Chadwell. She was smart, practical, and apparently just as tired of being lied to as I was. "There's a charity gala next Friday night," she continued. "The Morrison and Associates annual fundraiser. Mark is supposed to be going with me, but he's been acting like he doesn't want me there. I'm guessing your wife will be attending?" "Probably. She mentioned something about a work event." "Perfect. If they're planning something, that would be the perfect opportunity. Public enough that they'd feel safe, but private enough for them to let their guard down." After we hung up, I realized I'd just acquired a very motivated ally. Chadwell wasn't just angry, she was strategic. This was going to be more interesting than I'd thought. I went back inside to find Stephanie on her phone, typing furiously. When she saw me, she quickly put it away. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Fine, just some work stuff. You know how it is." That afternoon, while Stephanie was out supposedly running errands, I decided to do some reconnaissance of my own. I drove over to Riverside Drive and parked where I could see Mark's house. Sure enough, Stephanie's car was in the driveway. I didn't stay long, just long enough to take a few photos with my phone. But as I was leaving, I noticed Karen's car parked down the street. She was doing her own surveillance. Our eyes met as I drove past. She gave me a small nod. Sunday brought more interesting developments. Stephanie announced that she needed to work late several nights this week, including Thursday. Big project? I asked. The Henderson account. Mark wants to put together a comprehensive proposal, and we're running short on time. Sounds important. It is. This could be huge for the company. And for my career. I nodded sympathetically. Well, you should definitely focus on that. Don't worry about me. That evening, I got a text from Karen. Checked Mark's credit card statements. Romano's, Thursday nights, for the past 6 weeks. Always 2 dinners, always expensive wine. He told me he was having client meetings. I texted back. Stephanie's been sick every Thursday for 6 weeks. They're not very creative, are they? No, but they're consistent. Monday morning at work, I started phase 3 of my plan. I called the Morrison & Associates main number and asked to speak with Tasha Williams, Stephanie's best friend who worked in their accounting department. Tasha, this is Ethan Royce, Stephanie's husband. I wanted to surprise her for our anniversary next month, and I was hoping you could help me. Tasha sounded immediately uncomfortable. Oh, hi Ethan. What kind of surprise? I was thinking of having flowers delivered to her office, but I wanted to make sure I didn't pick a day when she'd be out with clients or anything. Could you tell me what her schedule looks like for Thursday afternoons? The pause was long enough to be telling. Thursday afternoons? I think she's usually pretty busy on Thursdays. Busy with what? Just, meetings and stuff. Maybe you should ask her directly? I want it to be a surprise. Come on, Tasha. We've known each other for years. Can't you just check her calendar? Another pause. Ethan, maybe this isn't the best time for surprises. You know how stressed Stephanie's been lately with work. Stressed? She seems fine to me. Happy, even. Right. Well, I should probably get back to work. After she hung up, I sat back and smiled. Tasha definitely knew what was going on, and she was terrible at hiding it. Which gave me an idea. I called back an hour later, but this time I asked for Mark Chadwell. Mark Chadwell's office. This is Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. This is Ethan Royce from Dataflow Solutions. I'm having some IT issues, and someone recommended Mark as a consultant. Is he available for a quick call? I'm sorry, Mr. Chadwell is in meetings all afternoon. Can I schedule something for later this week? Sure. How about Thursday afternoon? I know that's short notice. Thursday afternoon. She paused, and I could hear papers rustling. Actually, Mr. Chadwell has a standing appointment Thursday afternoons. Could we do Friday instead? A standing appointment? That sounds important. I really shouldn't discuss Mr. Chadwell's schedule with outside parties. Let me just put you down for Friday at 2 p.m. Standing appointment? Thursday afternoons. I was building quite a picture. That evening, Stephanie came home excited about the charity gala. It's going to be such a great event, she said. All the major clients will be there, and Mark thinks it's a perfect opportunity for me to make some important connections. Sounds like Mark has big plans for your career. He does. He's been such a mentor to me, Ethan. I feel like he really sees my potential. I'm sure he does. She looked at me sharply. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I'm just happy that you're happy at work, but I could see the suspicion in her eyes. Maybe I was being a little too obvious with my comments. I'd have to be more careful. Wednesday night, Karen called me. I confronted Mark about the credit card charges, she said. He claimed they were legitimate business dinners with various clients. But when I asked him to name the clients, he got defensive and said I was being paranoid. What did you do? I told him I wanted to come to the charity gala with him. He tried to talk me out of it, said it would be boring, that I wouldn't know anyone, but I insisted. And he finally agreed, but he's been in a terrible mood ever since. I think he's planning to uninvite me somehow. Don't let him. Oh, I won't. I bought a dress and everything. I'm very much looking forward to meeting your wife. Thursday arrived right on schedule. Stephanie's sick text came at 10:52 a.m. this time, 5 minutes later than usual. Feeling awful again. Same bug as last week. Going to work from home and rest. Don't wait up. I didn't even bother checking Find My iPhone. I knew exactly where she'd be. Instead, I focused on preparing for Friday night. Because if Karen was right, and Mark and Stephanie were planning something at the charity gala, I wanted to be ready. It was time to stop playing defense and start playing offense. Friday evening, I did something that surprised everyone, including myself. I bought a ticket to the Morrison and Associates charity gala. The event was at the Grand Ballroom downtown, one of those fancy hotel spaces with crystal chandeliers and marble floors. I arrived fashionably late, wearing my best suit and carrying a small gift bag. Stephanie was easy to spot. She was standing near the bar with Mark, both of them looking relaxed and happy. She was wearing a stunning red dress I'd never seen before, and Mark was in an expensive-looking tuxedo. They looked like they belonged together. I watched them for a few minutes from across the room. The way they stood just a little too close. The way Mark's hand lingered on her lower back when he guided her through the crowd. The way Stephanie laughed at everything he said. Wantov. Then I spotted Karen. She was magnificent, tall, elegant, wearing a black dress that probably cost more than my car. She was standing with a group of other wives, but her eyes were fixed on her husband and my wife. Wantov Ido husband. Maradingicho Wittestein. Mrs. Chadwell? I'm Ethan Royce. I believe we spoke on the phone. She turned to me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mr. Royce, how nice to finally meet you. Are you enjoying the event? Evie. It's very educational. Your husband and my wife seem to be having a wonderful time. Yes, they do seem quite comfortable together, don't they? We stood there for a moment, two people watching their spouses make fools of themselves in public. I brought something, I said, showing her the gift bag. A little presentation for the crowd. I thought you might want to see it first. Karen raised an eyebrow. What kind of presentation? I pulled out my laptop and opened it to show her a slideshow I'd prepared. The first slide was titled Thursday Night Fever, a love story in screenshots. The slides that followed told the complete story. Stephanie's text messages claiming to be sick. The Find My iPhone screenshots showing her at Mark's house. The photos from their romantic dinners. The credit card statements Karen had provided. Even some of the text messages between Stephanie and Tasha. Karen studied each slide carefully. This is quite comprehensive. Wantov. What are you planning to do with this? That depends. Are you ready to stop being lied to? She looked across the room at Mark and Stephanie, who were now slow dancing despite the upbeat music the band was playing. You know what? Yes, I am. The beauty of charity galas is that they always have audio-visual equipment for presentations and speeches. And the beauty of being an IT manager is that you know how to work that equipment. I excused myself and made my way to the tech booth at the back of the room. The volunteer running the sound system was a kid who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Hey, I said, flashing my Dataflow Solutions business card. I'm with the tech support company. Someone called about issues with the projection system? The kid looked confused. Nobody called me about any issues. Really? That's weird. Mind if I just run a quick diagnostic? Don't want the system crashing during the speeches. He shrugged and stepped aside. Sure, go ahead. It took me about 3 minutes to connect my laptop to the projection system. The main screen was currently showing the charity's logo and donation information, but I could override that whenever I wanted. I made my way back to Karen, who was now standing near the front of the room. Ready? I asked. She took a deep breath. Do it. I pulled out my phone and activated the slideshow. The first slide appeared on the main screen, visible to everyone in the ballroom. Thursday Night Fever, a love story in screenshots. The room went quiet as people noticed the change on the screen. Then came the gasps as the subsequent slides began to appear. Stephanie's text messages, the Find My iPhone maps, photos of her and Mark at romantic dinners, credit card receipts, even a few choice text messages between Stephanie and Tasha discussing how clueless I was. I watched Stephanie's face as she realized what was happening. The color drained from her cheeks. Mark looked like he was going to be sick, but the best part was watching the crowd. These were Stephanie's coworkers, Mark's clients, the social circle they'd been trying so hard to impress. And now everyone knew exactly what kind of people they really were. Tasha appeared at Stephanie's side, grabbing her arm and trying to pull her toward the exit. But it was too late. The damage was done. Mark tried to rush toward the tech booth, but Karen intercepted him. Going somewhere, darling, she said loudly enough for half the room to hear. Don't you want to see the rest of the presentation? The final slide was simple, just text on a black background. Next time you pretend to be sick, try not to infect the whole office. Your predictable, boring, clueless husband. The room erupted. People were talking. pointing, taking photos with their phones. Someone started laughing, and it spread through the crowd like wildfire. Stephanie pushed through the crowd toward me, her face red with anger and humiliation. "How could you do this?" she hissed when she reached me. "Do what? Tell the truth? You've ruined everything." "I've ruined everything? That's interesting. I thought you and Mark had that covered already." Mark appeared beside her, his face flushed. "You had no right to embarrass us like this." "Actually, I had every right. She's my wife. Or was, anyway." "This is harassment," Mark said. "I could have you arrested." "For what?" "Showing people screenshots of text messages and public Instagram posts. Good luck with that." Karen stepped up beside me. "Mark, darling, I think we need to talk, privately." "Karen, I can explain." "Oh, I'm sure you can. You've always been good with explanations. Like how you explained those credit card charges, or how you explained why you didn't want me to come tonight." The crowd was still watching, still taking photos. This was going to be all over social media within the hour. Stephanie grabbed my arm. "We need to talk, alone." "I don't think we have anything to talk about." "Ethan, please, let me explain." "Explain what?" "How you've been lying to me for months? How you and your friend Tasha laugh about how stupid I am? How you've been having romantic dinners every Thursday while telling me you're sick?" She looked around at all the faces watching us, and I could see her calculating whether she could salvage this somehow. "It's not what you think," she said finally. "Really? What is it then?" She opened her mouth, then closed it again. For the first time since I'd known her, Stephanie was speechless. "That's what I thought," I said. I turned to address the crowd, many of whom were still staring at us. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for interrupting your evening, but I thought you should know what kind of people you're doing business with. Enjoy the rest of your night." And with that, I walked out of the ballroom, leaving Stephanie and Mark to deal with the wreckage of their reputations. Behind me, I could hear Karen's voice, clear and carrying. "Mark, I'll be staying at my sister's house. My lawyer will be in touch." Mourinho. The night air outside felt cool and clean. I stood on the sidewalk for a moment, watching well-dressed people hurry past the hotel entrance, probably spreading the gossip to anyone who would listen. My phone buzzed with a text from Dave. "Dude, you're all over Twitter. #Thursday Night Fever is trending. You're a legend." I smiled and started walking toward my car. Tomorrow, Stephanie and Mark would have to face the consequences of their choices. Tonight, I was going home to get some sleep. For the first time in months, I wasn't wondering where my wife really was, or what she was really doing. Because for the first time in months, I didn't care. Lammen Fintrid ho. Saturday morning, I woke up alone in my house for the first time in 5 years. Stephanie hadn't come home after the gala, which wasn't surprising. I made coffee, scrambled some eggs, and sat down to survey the digital aftermath of the previous night. Dave was right about the social media explosion. #Thursday Night Fever was indeed trending, with people sharing photos and videos from the charity gala. Someone had recorded the entire slideshow presentation and posted it on YouTube. It already had 50,000 views. My phone had been buzzing all morning with calls and texts, messages from friends, coworkers, even people I hadn't talked to in years. Everyone wanted to know the story, wanted to congratulate me, wanted to share their own stories of cheating spouses. But the most interesting message came from an unknown number. "This is Jennifer, Mark's assistant. I thought you should know, Mark cleaned out his office this morning and submitted his resignation." Stephanie was with him. They left together. I stared at that message for a long time. So they were doubling down, choosing each other over the wreckage of their previous lives. Part of me had expected them to try to salvage their reputations, to claim it was all a misunderstanding. Instead, they were running away together. My phone rang. Karen Chadwell. "Good morning, Mr. Royce. I trust you slept well." "Better than I have in months. How are you holding up?" "Surprisingly well, actually. There's something liberating about finally knowing the truth, don't you think?" "Absolutely. What's your next move?" "Divorce, obviously. My lawyer is already drawing up the papers. Mark's resignation from Morrison and Associates makes things easier, fewer complications with shared assets and business interests." "And Stephanie? What about her?" "She quit too, apparently. They left together this morning." Karen was quiet for a moment. "Well, I suppose that saves everyone the trouble of pretending this was just a fling." "I suppose it does. Mr. Royce, Ethan, I want to thank you. If you hadn't sent those flowers, if you hadn't put together that presentation, I might have spent years wondering and suspecting, but never knowing for sure. You would have figured it out eventually. You're too smart not to. Maybe, but you gave me the truth, and the truth is always better than uncertainty. After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen and tried to figure out how I felt. Angry, relieved, vindicated, all of those things, but also something else. Empty, maybe. 5 years of marriage, gone. A whole life I'd built, dismantled in one evening. But then I thought about those Thursday nights, sitting alone while Stephanie was supposedly sick, wondering why she seemed so distant, why she never seemed happy to see me anymore. I thought about the lies, the elaborate deceptions, the way she and Tasha had laughed about how clueless I was. No, I wasn't empty. I was free. Dave showed up around noon with pizza and beer. "So," he said, settling onto my couch, "you're famous. Apparently. The video has 200,000 views now. Someone made a remix of your final slide with dramatic music. It's pretty epic." I laughed despite myself. "A remix? Oh yeah, you're a meme now, buddy. Predictable, boring, clueless husband is the new OK Boomer." We ate pizza and watched the internet react to my public revenge. It was surreal, seeing strangers analyze and celebrate